Morning, boys and girls. Mrs Meekings joining me against Mrs Meekings. Hi.
Hello, you're right, Mr. Garley?
Yeah, fine. You're in your kitchen, aren't you?
I am indeed, yep.
Very getting ready to do some baking, I think. Is that right?
I'm doing some baking after school because I'm in school tomorrow.
Yeah, you're working hard, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, Mrs Meekings has promised to make waffles tomorrow.
Yep.
For Mr Baldwin.
And a coffee and walnut cake for the teachers.
So hopefully she's got the maple syrup.
No, Tony's bringing that in.
Okay, yeah, Mr Crowley's bringing the maple syrup. Anyway, so today we've got some really exciting things to share. Sorry. This is Harry Ridley. Big thumbs up to Harry. Well done, Harry, who sent his work to Miss Addison, who then emailed it to me today. So I'm going to read it. Mrs Meekings is going to critique the work. Here we go. So the setting, Harry's setting, a bit darker than my silly old shaggy dog story. So this is Harry's setting. You could see the distant shadows of the darkened forest ahead. A dog hid in its little shed while the haunting wind echoed in the dark abyss. The branches of the trees were like bent fingers. The leaves crunched under your feet like bones of old fallen warriors. What do you think?
You're certainly right about that being dark. I'm really impressed with that, Harry. Is that a simile or a metaphor? That's a simile, isn't it? Because you said it was
like bones, yeah.
Yes, that makes that a simile. Well done.
Two similes, like bent fingers.
I'm currently looking at the like bones of old fallen warriors.
Yeah, lovely, isn't it? The dark abyss. There's a real sense of foreboding and fear about that one. And then he wrote about the dog. So let's see if he's kept in the same kind of atmosphere and imagery of darkness. So the dog's fur could blend in with the stars and the dark sky of the night. He had a bad reputation because of how territorial he is. His fur was black and white. He was an old English sheepdog that was as brave as a bear.
Yeah, he's certainly kept that theme going, haven't you, Harry? It's amazing, isn't it, how this one picture has stimulated all these different stories. Well done, Harry.
Yeah, and he's kind of weaved in a bit of a backstory there about the dog being reputation. So of how territorial. So there's
territorial. That's a good word. I'd have highlighted that one as a great word to use. Good vocabulary there, Harry. Can I also say I can see this one on the screen, and you have clearly proofread it, Harry, because your punctuation is great. You've got your capital letters for proper nouns. You've got your apostrophes. Good to see people are still thinking about that.
Well, because you can get carried away, as I find out, when sometimes you're typing and you make typos or you forget stuff, or I sometimes spell there and there wrong, even though I know how right it is, but because you're so carried away with typing, you kind of don't do it right.
Well, that's okay, as long as you go back and correct it.
Exactly, proofreading it. So we're going to rewind. So this is the middle part. So I've finished my story, but I'm just going to share the middle part with you today. So I realised that my plan changed while I was writing, which is fine as well. So if you write your plan and it changes, you can do that. So what I realised was that that tries to climb a tree was the first kind of thing that happened. The waking up thing becomes my second bit, which I haven't shared with you yet. And the digging up the acorns is the final straw in the story. So, but without boring people anymore with that, I'll read you the middle section. So if you remember what happened at the end of my beginning was he'd tried to climb a tree and squashed and hurt some squirrels. Nobody died, which is good, but it was bad that he's a bit clumsy around the squirrels because he's a dog. You ready then, Mrs Meekings, for this?
I'm ready. I'm looking at your plan.
Have you got a cup of tea and a chocolate hobnob or something?
No, I haven't actually. I'm going to have my lunch when I've finished.
Okay, right. You haven't got time because I'm ploughing on. Ready? Here we go. So the middle bit. So remember, he'd squashed some squirrels. Right. The sound of angry murmurings accompanied their walk back to the village. It was hard to make out what was being said, but it was clear that the injured squirrels were not happy. Brian thought he made out one particularly angry group with their arms and legs and tails bandaged in various ways where Ralph had landed on them, saying to the elder squirrel, "He's got to go." That's my squirrel. That's my new squirrel voice. They arrived outside Ralph's tiny kennel built into the side of a particularly gnarly tree. I think it's sorry, the squirrel voice. I think it's best if you go straight to bed, the little squirrel said as he looked up at the giant dog. The dog gave one giant rueful lick and squeezed himself into the hole in the trunk. By this time it was dark and most of the village had retired for the night. Ralph tossed and turned, but his sleep was fitful. It might have been something to do with the huge supermoon that was about to be revealed by parting clouds. The village was silent. Not a thing stirred. Not even the tiniest squirrel snore could be heard within the forest. Ho! Yeah, good. I think you like that one. Moonlight touched Ralph's nose with her silvery fingertip. Ho! Cried Ralph again, as the silvery hand of moonlight tickled his floppy ear. Ho, 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 ho! Went the dog. Lights flickered on in trees across the village until everyone was up and standing in their dressing gowns and pajamas outside Ralph's kennel. The moon disappeared behind the clouds, and before the tired and grumpy village elder could knock on the door of the kennel to complain, the howls were replaced by the sound of a giant, rumbling, dog-shaped snore. The village elder turned and looked at the villagers. He's got to go, he yawned. Did a yawn sound effect there as well. The next day, stay with it, it's going to get better. The next day, there were lots of tired squirrels ambling about the village, trying their best to muster up the energy to bury acorns. Ralph sprung from his kennel, fresh and ready to attack the day. One thing you can do really well that will make up for you keeping everyone awake and squashing everyone is you can bury acorns. We're going to find a clearing not too far from the village where you can bury those fat, sweet acorns that we collected yesterday. So after breakfast, Brian clambered onto the back of Ralph and they made their way to a clearing. They tiptoed slowly through the village and did not squash a single squirrel. That's good, said Brian. You haven't squashed a single squirrel. When everyone sees how well you dig, you'll be a hero of the village. Brian had chosen this specific clearing because it was quite close to the house of the most important squirrels in the village. In fact, the whole village council lived near this clearing, and the house of the village elder was the closest to where those fat, sweet acorns were to be buried. Can you guess what's going to happen?
No, I can't.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
It's probably not a very good story then. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. It was cold. Remember, it's winter, so I had to put it was cold. It was cold, but such a sunny day that when they passed the house of the village elder, they could see him touching up the ornate paintwork on his house, which was the biggest, grandest house in all the village. Yeah. When Brian... Sorry?
I've worked it out. Carry on.
Good. Yeah. When Brian knew that the squirrel elder was watching, he placed the acorns, fattest and sweetest, down by Ralph's ginormous paws and said, "Dig, Ralph, dig!" Ralph dug. Ralph dug and he dug and he dug. It was a sight to behold. The giant paws, like excavators, shifting dirt quicker than anyone had ever seen before. He dug and he dug and he dug. This dog can dig. This dog can dig, squealed Brian in delight as the hole got bigger and deeper and wider and bigger and deeper and wider. Wait until the elder sees how well you dig and how many acorns we can bury in that hole. Wait until he sees. But he didn't see. He didn't see because the dirt that was in the hole was no longer in the hole. That dirt had to go somewhere, and it had. The dirt was in a huge pile and it covered the houses of the village council. Most of it, in fact, was covering the freshly painted, ornate home of the village elder. Large piles of dirt can't talk, but from somewhere within this one, a muffled voice could be heard saying, "He's got to go." That's the middle bit done.
I'm impressed.
Did you like it?
I am very impressed. Do you want my critique?
Yeah. I'm quite sensitive though, so be gentle.
I know, and I've written notes because I'm doing this properly. So I've written my notes. Now, the first thing is you've clearly stuck to your genre. It is humorous. And I'm sure it's made more humorous by your really effective squirrel voice. But the things I really liked, I love your repetition, that he's got to go, the way that's weaved through the story. Yeah. Really good. I spotted it 3 times, so well done on that. Yeah. Really keeps engaged. It's something you're quite good at, repetition, actually, isn't it? I'm impressed.
Quite repetitive.
Short sentences for effect. Ralph dug.
Yeah.
Ralph dug, and he dug, and he dug. So I like that short sentence, Ralph dug. You've obviously been working hard on your vocabulary as well. I've picked a couple of words that I liked. Rueful, I'd have highlighted that.
Nice one. Yeah.
Excavators.
Yes.
His hands were like excavators. So just like Harry Ridley, you're using similes. His hands were like excavators, or his paws were. But I also noticed a metaphor with the moon, because you actually
there it is on screen.
The silvery hands of the moonlight tickled floppy ears. It's a metaphor as well.
Yeah, but it's a special kind of metaphor because it's personification, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Sorry, it's good. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
I was expecting sympathetic fallacy, but I've missed that as well.
That's coming at the end.
Okay.
Where the weather and the light outside starts to become a bit darker.
Okay.
Can I share one thing that while I was writing, when I was reading it back through last night, that I did change, was I'm not very good at trying to find synonyms for said. And it took me ages. I think because I was in bed typing it and I was tired, that I suddenly realised when on this sentence here, the village elder turned and looked at the villagers, he's got to go. He sighed, I think I put last night, but then I suddenly realised, no, he's up in the middle of the night. He yawned is the perfect synonym for said for that bit of sentence. So it just proves if you kind of keep reading it back and keep thinking and keep engaging with it, you can do lots of good editing yourself, can't you?
Yeah. And I've learned something, remembered something. I was thinking, that's a metaphor, but you're right, it's personification as well. I'd forgotten that.
But have you got anything you think I could change without putting you on the spot?
No, not really. I was looking at your punctuation as well, because I knew Mrs. Drew would want me to look at your punctuation.
I like using ellipses. I like using ellipses quite a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I can't find.
A couple of places you could put a semicolon in where you've got your one sentence explaining the other sentence. I don't know whether I've got that right. Mrs. Drew will tell me if I've got it wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, so there it is. It's been an absolute. Sorry. To
the end. Looking forward to the ending. Who gets to listen to that with you?
I get quite emotional when I read the ending. I think Miss Addison's going to join me for that. But I do.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because I'm so familiar with the characters now. They're like old friends to me now.
I did see a squirrel this morning, and it made me think of Brian.
I saw one on Twitter, and I copied you in. A red squirrel being fed through a syringe. I think it was being fed Angel Delight or something like that. But it looked really happy. Yeah,
I think I saw it. I think all the Year 6 teachers saw that as well.
Anyway, boys. Yeah, sorry, we interrupt each other a lot in real life. Anyway, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed the story. When it's all finished, I'll read the whole thing out, which hopefully you might probably release it at Christmas on a DVD or something. But when don't forget, please, when you're writing yours, if you share, send it to your class teacher and they'll send it to me, or you can send it directly to me, and I will read yours out, and me and Mrs. Meekings or somebody will give you a little bit of feedback. Good old Harry, that's brilliant, Harry. There you are again. Glad you're staying safe.
Yep. And there's quite a few people that I know are doing theirs. I've seen on Twitter and I've heard from some of the teachers. There are some children who are in the process.
And isn't it nice that somebody's taken the story and done a slightly different, gone for a different feel for it? So a darker, sort of scarier, more serious feel.
Harry's a bit more serious than you. Is that what we're saying?
Possibly. A bit more, probably better educated than me as well. Anyway, God bless you all. Speak to you soon. And yes, thanks, Mr. Meekins. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
With cake.
Cheerio.
Bye.